we just spend 1 minute on what happened with the IRS? Because it happened right after your Twitter files expose. And look, it's not conspiratorial to say these two events are so linked in time. It's deeply disturbing and feels a little like you're being targeted. That plus the then jail threat make it seem even more plausible. But what happened with the IRS? Did they actually come to your house? Like, what happened?
Yes, so Michael Schellenberger and I, we're both Twitter Files reporters. We testified before the House Weaponization of Government Subcommittee early in March. And as I was testifying, an IRS agent came to my house and left a note at my door telling me to call in 4 days. So when I got home from Washington, my wife showed me the note, and apparently the IRS wanted me to sit and stew about it for the weekend. So they didn't answer my calls for a couple of days, and then when I finally did call and find out what was going on, the complaints were very strange, and I initially thought it had to be a coincidence. It's just too silly for somebody to send an IRS agent to your door while you're testifying, but it actually happened. And now I'm much more leaning in the direction of this can't possibly have been a coincidence.
No, it couldn't have. It's just the timing of it is just, it's too much. So now you had the IRS sicked on you because what? You had the temerity to report that there was government coordination with big tech and pressure by the government on big tech, though not a lot was needed, to report things the way the government wanted them reported. There's been so much evidence of that on COVID, on Hunter Biden. We could go down the list. So you and Schellenberger and Barry Weiss and others have been doing a great job on this. Then you made the very foolish decision for a very smart man of going on MSNBC with Mehdi Hasan. I know you see that now. When you did it the day, I was like, what's he doing? What?
Yeah, no, of course it was an idiotic decision. Yeah.
It was like kind of sweet because you were in good faith and you were like, I'll go and speak with somebody who I know disagrees with me and is going to be a critic of me. And I think that, I can stand by. It was sweet. It was like born of your good faith in our profession. Silly, silly man. And now that last sliver of good faith in humanity you had is gone because Mehdi Hasan was the most dishonest, disgusting person to you in the exchange and tried to make it look like you were a liar. And then we found out after the fact that he was the one lying about your reporting, kind of caught you off guard on a couple things that you were sort of being nice, giving him a point because he was like, this is proof positive you misstated this and proof positive. And you were like, okay, if I did, I'll correct it. Turned out he was wrong on the things. And now this moron, if I'm not mistaken, is the U.S. representative for the Virgin Islands, is threatening to throw you in jail saying you perjured yourself. So when you heard that, what was your reaction?
Yeah, I was horrified. First of all, the decision to go on with Mehdi, I was being cocky. I was trying to make a point. I've been upset with MSNBC for some time because I think the station doesn't answer its critics. I think that's part of the responsibility of journalism is that if you have people who disagree with you, who think you've made errors, or you think that there are flaws in your reporting, that you have to face them, and that's how the public ultimately benefits. So it would be hypocritical of me to not go on the air and face their hostile questioning when I've been very critical of them. So I went on, and to be fair, in the interview, his questions were hostile, but they were more or less in bounds. I mean, I think he caught me on a couple of things. I did make a few mistakes in some tweets. They were, I would say, not substantive mistakes. They were the kind of mistakes you make after that happen in any kind of reporting, whether you have fact checkers looking at it or not. But it turned into a big thing because he thought that I had made a major error in confusing two organizations, one of which is an intelligence agency and one of which is not. In fact, both the intelligence agency and the civil society organization that we were talking about, they're both partners with the same Stanford group that was doing content moderation for Twitter. So actually, they made an error in not seeing that. And he later tweeted out that I had lied to Congress because I had confused these two organizations. And that was when the letter was written by Representative Stacey Plaskett of the Virgin Islands, who's threatening me now with 5 years imprisonment for having intentionally lied to Congress when actually, hilariously, they're making an error in the letter. We could get into the weeds about that, but that's where we are. Yeah.
No, she's too stupid to be in Congress. Truly. I mean, like, she's too dumb. I'm sorry, she needs to go. Like, there's dumb, and then there's just dumb as a box of rocks. Boxy, the representative from Virgin Islands, Boxy/Roxy, needs to go. It was deeply offensive. We covered it on the air when it happened. And I know we're laughing at it because it's not going to happen. But on some level, I mean, sadly, this moron has some power and a field of Democrats that has been demonizing you for months now. So there's got to be some element of it that is a little frightening.
Yeah, I wouldn't be so quick to laugh at it and say that's never going to happen because, look, the history of our country shows that when people least expect it, figures like this will take it the extra step. And you never know. It could end up being a situation like the House Un-American Affairs Committee, where you have a bunch of people who are invited in to give testimony, and then they're held in contempt of Congress because they refuse to answer questions. Right now, that can't happen because Stacey Plaskett is in the minority. She can't compel me to come in, and she can't send me a subpoena. But who knows what's going to happen in the future? And this threat of sending somebody to jail, of sending a journalist to jail, is an extraordinary escalation of the kind of hostility against the media that, again, if you can you imagine what would have happened if this had happened, if a Republican had done this in the Donald Trump years to, somebody like Jim Acosta, or Ben Collins of NBC or Ken Delanian, we would never hear the end of it. But the press does not see the danger in this, and they really should.
Look, you did the tough thing during COVID. You paid your people and pulled your business through the pandemic. And now doing the tough thing could qualify you for up to $26,000 per employee at covidtaxrelief.org. Government funds are available right now. They've already been allotted and set aside to reward companies with 2 or more employees who stayed open during COVID. It's not a loan, and you don't have to pay it back. The program's complicated, but no one knows more about it than the CPAs and tax experts at covidtaxrelief.org. You pay nothing up front. They do all the work and share a percentage of the cash they get you. Businesses of all types, including nonprofits and churches, can qualify, including those who took PPP loans, even if you had increases in sales. You did the tough thing for your employees during COVID. Now let covidtaxrelief.org help get you up to $26,000 per employee. Visit covidtaxrelief.org. That's covidtaxrelief.org, covidtaxrelief.org. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.